Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Purpose, Profits, and Pixie Dust podcast. I am so excited to have Sarah on the show today. Sarah is a life and business coach for mompreneurs, helping them take back their time, their home, their business, and themselves so they can reclaim their power, restore the balance, and thrive both at home and at work without feeling like they have to choose between the two, while unapologetically creating the life they want for themselves and their family without having to worry about what other people think, which is totally my jam. You guys are going to learn so much today from Sarah. So Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hey there, welcome, thank you. I'm so excited for this too. So yeah, ready to dive into all of the stuff we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so tell my listeners just a little bit about you. How did this become your mission? Because I'm sure you didn't grow up and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do someday. So tell us a little bit about your journey, why this is important to you, and how you got to be doing this.
Yeah, sure. So no, this is something definitely that I wouldn't have thought even 10 years ago that I would be doing now, and totally different. And so I started out working in local government, and then I was in with a national first aid charity, and I left that to start my own event management business with outdoor events and concerts and weddings and all those kind of things. Wow. And I loved it. But then when I had my boy, trying to juggle that with him and as a baby, it was really tough because it's so on social hours, and most events were at weekends, and it just meant that I wasn't spending any time with him. So I had to really rethink what I was doing. So I just had this this one day when my husband walked in, and I was literally doing the mum thing with Harrison one side of me, the laptop between me, he's playing with the TV, watching TV, and we're like, something's got to change, we've got to just figure out what we're doing. And I just wanted to make the most of those precious early days with him, and we were fortunate that we were in that position to be able to do so, that I just took a step back and just was a stay-at-home mum and just made the most of that time with him. And then when we were getting to him being 5, he's now 13, but when he was coming to 5 and school age, it was kind of what do I want to do? And so I started to retrain as a forensic psychologist because I love all things true crime and fascinated by the human mind and all of that. Yeah. So I started doing it and diving into it, and I loved it. But I was partway through, and he'd been at school for about 6 months, and I got diagnosed with breast cancer, and it just totally unexpected, rug out from under our feet, world upside down. And so everything went on hold, and we're just focusing on me getting better. And during that sort of time period, I made a promise to myself that I was going to focus on the things that really, really mattered. And it made me realise, like a wake-up call, that I just was not prioritising things, and the things that I thought were important weren't important, and just not making the most of that time with everybody that I loved. And so I made a promise that if I was going to get through it, that I was going to do what I could to live my life more intentional. And my breast cancer nurse suggested journaling through the process so that I could just really put myself of what I wanted to do and just process everything that was going on. And so I started doing that, and then said to my husband one day, I want to write a book. And he's like, well, that doesn't surprise me because you love all your journaling, you love writing. Why don't you start with doing a blog? So that's how my business started 8 years ago. It started as a blog where I was sharing my journey to reducing the overwhelm, the taking back control, and just prioritising what matters, and my journey to leading a more intentional life. And really soon all of my subscribers and my email, my Facebook group members were always like, can you show me how you're doing this? And so it kind of morphed into helping them coach through it. And then over lockdown, I decided I've enjoyed coaching and mentoring with them through this. I've been coaching in my past life with my other jobs was what I was doing. So I've been coaching and mentoring people for 20 years. So it made so much sense to do that. And so then over lockdown, I got trained as a certified master life coach, got totally obsessed with it all. I loved it, and went into goal success and happiness and habits and all of that sort of stuff. And then so I launched my coaching business and full-on one-on-one coaching and programs about 3 years ago now. And then from that last year, after 4 years of pondering on it, trying to figure out whether I wanted to do it or not, I finally launched my own podcast. And I was searching for the name for it, and the Thriving Mompreneur was what I wanted to go for, because that was everything what I was about, of taking back your control, reclaiming your power, and going from surviving to thriving. But that was taken, so I was totally gutted. Everything had to go out the window, back to the drawing board.
No, I can't do this if I can't get my name.
Oh, I know, it's just always the way, isn't it? You're so sad, and then it's nope, I've got to start again. So I really sat back and I thought, what is my mission? What am I about? Who do I love serving the most? What am I so passionate about? what has got me to where I am with my business. And I realised that it was all about that being unapologetic, doing what we want in a way that matters for us and what we want for our families, what we want in our businesses, and not worrying about what other people think and doing things our way. And I realised that everything I've done up until now was because I was embracing that unapologeticness, because I was asking myself what felt right, what felt in alignment, and doing it my way without worrying. And that's when I realised that that was what it was all about, and that's what the mission was. So my podcast became the Unapologetic Mompreneur, and then it just was like this epiphany of like, that's what everything should be. So I just went through a whole rebrand last summer. So my previous business was A Simple and Contented Life. It's now the Unapologetic Mompreneur, and because I've really dived into doing things my way, owning what works for me, and as best I can without worrying what other people think, because that still crops up every day. I've not got it, I'm far from perfect, but that's where it's led to. And now my business over the last 18 months has gone from strength to strength because I've honed in on that your business your way kind of thing and the unapologetic approach. And everybody loves it. All of my clients are like, this is just what I need, this is the permission I need, because I'm just so much expectation to do what everybody else thinks we should be doing. But when we ditch all those needs and shoulds and we get into what really feels right and aligned for us, and we put that into every area of our life, including our businesses, that is when things change, and that's when we go from surviving to thriving. So yeah, that's kind of my journey and how it's got me to where I am.
I love that. And I know we talked about this when you and I talked before, how like that natural progression of like, this step had to come next for this one to come for the, you know what I mean, to get to that place. Yeah. I think is just, I don't know, cool sounds like a too small of a word, but I think it's just such a cool journey to, hear everybody's, and now to hear yours and how that ended up happening. That's awesome. I can't believe you wanted to be a forensic.
I know.
Like, what is it? A forensic
psychologist. Yeah. So it's just I'm still totally obsessed with all things true crime, but I think it's more linked to like the human mind and why people do the things that they do, which really fits with what I do now with coaching and getting into and understanding people's limiting beliefs and all of the things that hold us back and why we do the things we do. And when we tap into what we really want, how we can reframe those thoughts and beliefs, gain more confidence, put ourselves out there, overcome all the things we go through in our businesses of fear of visibility and imposter syndrome and all of that, which I've had to learn to overcome as well. So I think that's probably where it all comes from. It's just like the psychology of it really, and just the way the human mind thinks and how powerful it can be when we actually tap into that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive into that a little bit. So I have heard one of the biggest things that I hear from clients is that they're afraid to show up online. And when I go through it with them and I'm like, okay, why is this a thing? Has anyone actually said anything to you? And they're like, well, no one's ever actually said anything, but I'm afraid that they're going to. Like, let's start with that one. What are some tips that you can give to the woman listening who's like, okay, that's me. That's exactly one of my fears, or why I think I'm holding myself back, but maybe that's not even why they're holding themselves back. Like, what would you tell them, or what are some ways we can get started, like getting over that fear?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's definitely something that was one of the things that held me most back in my business for so long. Probably the first 4 years or so was that fear of visibility, that fear of being up online and showing our faces and all of that stuff. And it's scary because it's making ourselves vulnerable. We're putting ourselves out there open to judgment, to criticism. What if people don't like us? What if I fall flat on my face? What if I make myself look like an idiot? All of those thoughts go through our heads, and it can be so scary to do that. And one of the things that really helped me was to just like really focus on and switch that frame around, that I have something here that I know I can help people with. I've been through this journey. I know that I'm not alone in this, and I know that I have something to share that people are going to benefit from. And we're doing them a disservice by not putting it out there. And if we're showing them that, if we change that mindset of actually we're helping somebody rather than making it about us and what are people going to think of us, that can really help to get started. Another thing that really helps me is limiting that noise, because there is so much noise out there of all of the ways that we should be doing things, that we have to be dancing on TikTok and all the other stuff that that just doesn't fit with me at all, because I'm a huge introvert, and the sort of doing that sort of things just doesn't work for me. And I think just like limiting that noise, and I have what I call a magic 7, so I only have, or allow myself to have, 7 voices out there at a time that I listen to. And so they're ones that I know, that I trust, that I've seen that they've got the results that I want, that they're like their values and all of the things that matter to them are very in alignment with what I want to achieve and how I think and perceive and see the world. And so I listen to those voices only, and I try and drown out all of the other noise. I remove all of the notifications. And then anytime somebody new comes into my world where I'm curious about them and I'm fascinated and think maybe I want to start listening to them, I make myself then remove somebody else from the list, because it's okay to change and grow. We change who we like and want to listen to. But if we've got too many voices drowning out, then that we get those conflicting messages, which confuses us about what we want to do and what is right or wrong to do, what we should be doing. But it also puts that added pressure, and then we get confused and we lose touch of our own intuition and our own judgment. And if we are then just really keeping those noises to a minimum, but we're focusing on what matters to us, what we believe, of not being afraid of sharing what our core values are and the things that are about us and that make us us, that is when it gets easier to show up. Because I spent those first few years, every time I was creating a social media post, or every time I wanted to record a video, or every time I wanted to go live inside my Facebook group or send an email to my subscribers, I would be sitting there thinking, what do I think they want to hear from me? Is this sounding okay? Is this really what they want to hear? Rather than asking myself what my core message was, what my core beliefs were, the steps that I've taken that I know I can help them with. And when I stopped worrying about what they were thinking about it and just focused on, what feels right for me, what is my message, and knowing that if they didn't like it, that is okay, that's when you get more confident to be able to show up and start doing the things. And I thought I had to just find another way of being confident, and that I had to be confident before I could do it all. And everybody else doing all their videos looked so confident, like they had it nailed and everything else. And I was worried that I would stumble on my words and all of that sort of stuff. But when you hone in on what really matters to you, what you truly believe in, even if somebody doesn't like it, you go out and do that. It becomes so much easier for you to then actually just keep going. And it's amazing how much your confidence grows just by you being you. So give yourself that permission to be you, to embrace everything about you and your good, your bad, your warts, everything, and whatever it is. Don't be afraid of sharing that, because if people don't like it, they're not your person anyway. And there is so many other people that can serve them, that they're enough to go around, that they can go and find someone else. And not being scared of unsubscribes, of unfollows, of all of that, because all the time you're getting that, you're getting closer and closer to finding your ideal client and the ideal people who truly want to hear from you. And when I made that mindset shift, that is when everything changed. It took me a long time to do that, and I still have days where I worry. I still have days where I send an email and I want to go and hide under the table. It still stays with you, because the more we grow in our business, the more we're doing new things that are scary and that we are requiring us to be more visible. But if we stick with being ourselves and just doing what is right for us and sharing that message, that's when things then become easier in our business. Our business feels lighter instead of a chore. Your energy is infectious because people can see that you are excited and passionate about what you're sharing, and that's what's going to draw them in. So yeah, to go for that magic 7. Ask yourself who your magic 7 are that you want to listen to. Reframe that mindset that it is you helping them rather than it being about you. And just give yourself permission to go all in being you. And it can be scary, because if you've gone through a life where you've had difficult times, you've been bullied at school and all of that stuff, you're worrying about that judgment. It can make a difference by just reminding yourself that it is okay to be you. You've got this, and you being you is your business's superpower, and it's great asset.
I love that. I have never heard of the magic 7. Like, I always, I try to limit myself, but I love having an exact number. And like you said, when you find someone new and you're like, okay, maybe I want to add them, then making yourself delete someone from who you're looking up to, or that is, to me, that was mind blowing. Okay, now let's talk. I forget how you worded it, but there are a lot of, myself included, people listening, I'm sure, who are like, I don't 100% know what I want, or that's not necessarily me anymore, but you're so multi-passionate and you're like, but I can help people with so many things. Is there a strategy you have on helping narrow down what you get to focus on maybe first or right now, or maybe even finding that thing that is the most passionate string for you to be sharing about? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, definitely, I would say it does take time, and give yourself that permission that it takes time, because when we're first starting out, even from when I first started my business 7 years ago, would have had no idea back then that I'd be doing what I'm doing now. And sometimes it does take us in a path that we're not expecting, and that's part of the fun and the excitement and everything. And just in that first stages, just give yourself permission to play, to just try different things and see what you like, and put stuff out there, and to help you like overcoming that fear of, you know, being visible, and if it falls flat on its face, what if it doesn't work. I used to worry about that so much, to the point that I would create something and not put it out there because I was too scared. But one of my accountability buddies said to me 2 or 3 years ago, just treat everything as an experiment, put it out there, don't attach any expectation to it, but put it out there, see what happens, see if you like it, if you don't like it, because a lot of the time it's not just about whether it's a failure, or it didn't work for you, or it's not what you want to do. You're not going to find that out until you try it. So giving it as an experiment means that if you decide that you don't like it and it doesn't feel right, you don't have to do it as well. It's not a case of whether or not it works. But as you hone in on what you like, it takes time to niche down. And there is that temptation, especially when we're multi-passionate, because I'm multi-passionate. I've got so many things that I want to create and put out there all the time. But I have learned that I really honed in on who I am most passionate about working with, who the majority of my one-on-one coaching clients were, that I loved working with the most. And it's okay to hone in on that and go deeper with it. And, you know, I started out, when I first started, with working with all mums, regardless of their situation, whether they had a business, whether they were staying at home, whether they were working from home, whether they had a full 9-to-5 job. I was wanting to work with everybody because I didn't want to leave anybody out, because I knew that my strategies, I have a 4-pillar process that I use, and I know that it's super, super powerful. So I wanted to help everybody. But again, if you're too wide, it's going to be so much harder for that one person scrolling on Instagram or signing up for your emails to figure out whether you are actually for them, and that they can see that clear transformation that they can get with you. So allow yourself to hone in. And I went from all mums to loving working with mums that are like me, with an online business, that are looking to restore the balance and design their life at home and run their business seamlessly around their family. And then I've honed in even more so in the last year, where it's mums that are trying to grow their business in the margins of the school day, because that's where I'm at. That I know what it is like for the mums that are juggling, that they've only got the hours between when the kids are going to school to be able to grow their businesses. And so by honing in on that even more, I've been able to then take all of that and how I do it and create the program that I have now of the Term Time Roadmap, where we marry up your academic year with the way you run your business. So that instead of it being dictated by your kid's academic diary, everything fits together. And being able to do that, I've only managed to do that because I've honed in on what I've wanted to do. So in the first beginning of it, allow yourself to play, see what you find that is interesting you the most, who you're passionate about working with, the parts of your story or whatever it is that you're offering that gives people that biggest transformation. But then also, as you go along, allow yourself to hone in more and really keep asking yourself regularly, who am I most passionate about working with? What is working for me? Where do I want this to go? And if you find that it's completely different in 3 or 4 years' time to where you first were, don't think that you have to keep hanging on with the old one, that it's okay to change, because we change and grow. And as we go and we go out, we discover, we work with different people, we meet different people along the way, we find different things that we are passionate about. And it's okay to change as well, because sometimes something I've seen a lot in my clients is that they're very set on their goals and they know what it is they want to achieve, but later on plans have changed, or they're more passionate about something else, that actually they then struggle to let go of that because it feels like you're giving up, or it feels like you're a failure because you're pivoting and switching. But it's all part of the journey. So if you find yourself leading off into another direction and suddenly you've tried an experiment with a product or a service or a coaching something or whatever it is you've been working on, and you think, actually, I'm really curious about this, I want to try this, give yourself permission to do it, because you never know what you might discover from it.
Oh, that's really powerful. And I love how you said, I'm really curious about this. Like, it doesn't have to be like anything bad about the other thing. It's just, I'm really more curious and I really want to try out more of this. I feel like that makes it so much easier in my mind, because I'm one of those people who, like, I don't want to quit anything. Like, once I'm committed to it, I feel like a failure. I don't know if it's even, I feel like a failure. Like, I feel bad I feel bad quitting things. And so love that reframe of, well, I'm just more curious about this. Like, I feel like that feels so much more like healthy and positive than like I'm quitting something, right?
Yeah, definitely. It just makes it feel so much lighter because we're not putting that pressure on ourselves like we're giving up or we're failing or, well, that didn't work or I can't stick at anything and all of that stuff, especially if we're multi-passionate as well, because we are constantly going to want to try different things. And it's okay to, we can always come back to something later if we decide that we want to bring it back into our businesses or into our lives. We can totally do that too. But just knowing that it's okay to just go and have fun and try different things and see what we're passionate about. And if a goal's no longer resonating with us or something we do in our business is no longer resonating with us, it's our business. We get to call the shots. So if we don't want to do it anymore, we don't have to. And a lot of the times the pressure that we feel is actually coming from us inside. It's not coming from all of the noises and distractions outside. And I work a lot with my clients with going through like the ditching all of the noise and all of the needs and shoulds. But it's not just the external needs and shoulds that we work on, it's the internal ones. Because a lot of the time when we look at the goals that we set ourselves or the to-do list that we set for our day or the things that we want to have accomplished by our working week, and if we haven't done them, we're beating ourselves up. But a lot of them are the ones that we've set ourselves. And so if we've set that, we can change it. And if it's not working, then we can just set a new goal. And we just forget sometimes that. And we feel like there's all this pressure outside everywhere else. But we need to look inside and what the pressure is that we're putting on ourselves as well. And we're actually putting the expectations that we're putting on ourselves. Are they realistic? Because I do that all the time. I'm super guilty of the expectations that I put on, and the things that I want to accomplish are so up there. And then I look at them and think, Sarah, that wasn't even accomplishable. What on earth were you putting that pressure for? Because you knew when you did it and set it and wrote it on your Trello board, there's no way that I was going to accomplish that in that time frame. But I'd still do it, and then I'd still beat myself up. So yeah, I think it's just looking at whole of the noise and everything and the expectations and the pressures, but check in on yourself with the pressure you're putting on yourself as well as the noise that's out there too.
Ooh, I really felt that one. That is 100% me, and that is such a good reminder because like no one is making you do anything in your business, right? Because we're not employees. Like that's kind of the magic of it. So why do we put that pressure on ourselves? Like let's just like back it off just a little bit and like you said, set maybe. And I'm a huge fan of setting stretch goals and things like that, but there is a time too for us to really be realistic of like, okay, if this is my goal and intention, can I do that while also living a life that is not, creating burnout and overwhelm? Because yeah, maybe you can achieve that goal in that amount of time, but what are you going to give up? We can't do all the things all the time. We can do a lot, but not everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a great point of when we're taking on something new or we're trying to set ourselves new goals. And I love stretch goals. I'm always setting myself stretch goals. But at the same time, I have a look and you just have to say to yourself, what am I going to let go of? Something has to give. We can't do it all. And especially as mums, and then we add a business into the mix as well. We want to do everything. We want to do it all. And we can feel like everything is on our shoulders as well. Especially at home, it's easy to feel like, we're the ones keeping the wheels turning, that if we're not doing it, then nothing happens at home. And it's the same in our business. But there's only so much that we can do, and we don't need to do it all. We just feel sometimes like we should be doing it all. And I think that's a really good point you made of having that balance, because as a Libra, I'm all about balance as well. And I truly believe that it's not something we find, it's something we create, and we get to define what that looks like. It looks different for everybody, and we get to choose and define what that balance means. And if it means something else not being a priority right now so that we can focus on something else, that's okay. And it also means that if we want to do something new, it's okay to just ballpark something for a while and put it in a parking lot, and we can come back to it later if we want to. And it's okay to do that. I think that's a really good point. It's so important to just ask yourself, what have I got on my physical and mental plate right now? What have I got the capacity for? What have I got the bandwidth for? And let's be realistic about what I can accomplish. And if I'm not doing it right now, that doesn't mean it doesn't have to be done. It's not going to get done in 6 months' time. It's something that I can do later. It doesn't mean I'm never going to do it. It just means that I am super honest about what I can cope with right now and what my priorities and my true priorities are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we are both fans of Trello, and you just mentioned it. So I have shared for everyone listening, I was on Sarah's podcast, so I will drop that episode link down below once it airs and all of that. But one of the things that I talked about with Sarah was my Trello board. So now I want to know, Sarah, it doesn't even have to just be Trello, but I would love to hear about your Trello. How do you use Trello? What's your system? And then what are some other systems you have? Because you work with that woman who is working within that the school day and trying to do all the, juggle all the things, do all the things. So I know you have some awesome systems. So let's switch gears and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Oh my goodness, I could talk about Trello all day. We had such a fun conversation, didn't we? We even said at some point we probably should just do a podcast episode together that is just solely on Trello. That we could do that. But yeah, no, I am a huge Trello fan. I've tried Asana. I've tried so many things over the years, and every single time I go back to Trello. And I think it's partly because of like my ADHD brain that I'm a visual person, and I like to be able to move stuff around. And because I'm multi-passionate, I've got all the lists in my head of all of the ideas, and I need somewhere where I can just go and look at it at a glance. And I love the fact that I have used up the full capacity of all of the starred boards. I've got all of those set because I don't use the same. Yep. And so I've got all of my starred boards, but I have one overarching board that has got all of my like big vision, big goals, a big plan for my business. Then aside of that, that is my term time strategy, which I'll come on to in a second, which is one of the other tools that I use. But that breaks it down over what I'm working on throughout the year within my business and like the bigger vision. So it has lists on there for like my visibility strategy, for my podcast, for my coaching programs, for summits and bundles that I'm participating in, all of that sort of stuff. But then I also got boards. I've got a separate board for my podcast, so I can plan everything in there. I've got a separate board for all of my long form content, for my blog posts, for my emails. I've got a collaborations board, I've got a bundles and summits board, so I can keep track of everything. Trello is literally my mind on my PC. Everything that is in my head is in Trello, and I have it on my phone as well because I get most of my ideas when I'm out walking, and so I have to have somewhere that I can mind dump it straight away, because if I don't, it's gone. But then I love that I can then just move everything around, and I can prioritize it, and I can drag it across. So I've got all of my weeks on my big CEO board, and I will have them, it's from I can come into the term time strategy now because it makes sense so that I can kind of explain how I do it. But because my boy is at school and I was frustrated with all of the dictations of the academic year and trying to break things down to quarterly planning and 90-day year planning and everything, I could never get them to work for me. And it was so frustrating because I'm a goal success coach, and I was like, if I can't make these work for me, I can't teach my clients and students this. How can I say I'm a goal success coach and then I can't make quarterly planning and 90-day years work for me? I've got to do something else. And because every time, particularly quarter 3, quarter 4, because the end of quarter 3, you're kind of getting into thinking about what the rest of the year is going to do, and you want to finish your goals and everything. But Harrison was off for the whole of the summer, so I would get super frustrated that I wasn't able to do anything in my business over that time, feeling like I was constantly playing catch up and behind. And then when he goes back to school in September, I'm thinking about wrapping up and closing for the year, but his mindset and his term times, he's starting a brand new year. And then it was just like this big epiphany about 2 years ago of like, hold on a minute, if I ditched all of like the 90-day and goal planning rules and threw them out the window, started again, and designed my business so that it matched his academic year, it would make life so much easier. So that's what I do now. I have my term time roadmap, and that is where his I don't do quarterly planning, I don't do 90-year planning, I do term time planning. So he has an autumn winter term, which is the September to December. Then there's the spring term, which is January until April Easter time, and then it's the summer term, which is the April to right around to July when he finishes. So now my business matches those. So I have 3 terms. I have an autumn, a spring, and a summer term, and my goals are all set to match the number of weeks that he has. So if he's got a 13-week term, well, my goals are broken down into 13 weeks. And when his midterm break is the half term halfway through, whether it's 6 weeks, 7 weeks, that's my midterm check-in. And so that's what I teach now with all of my students and all of my clients, is that where they've got the kids at school, we match the business to the academic year. So that's how my Trello board is set up. When I go into my CEO year overview, it's got them into terms and then each week by week. So it's very like A-type personality plan. But because I struggle with like A-type personality, but also an ADHD brain. So I'm constantly fighting against myself all the time. So I know that if I've got that in my Trello, I can go and map stuff. And then I take what my goals are at the beginning of that board and I drag them across to each week. And I know what I'm working on. But it really helps if you've got kids at school and you feel like you are just like, they're rubbing up against each other the wrong way, that every time it gets towards being another end of term or a break, and you start getting stressed because you haven't finished what you need to finish yet. You know you want to spend time with them when they're off school, but you don't want to have that feeling torn between your kids and laptop every time you turn it on. that term time roadmap is a really, really good way of managing everything. And it means then that you can use a couple of weeks running up to a holiday break to prep so that your emails, your socials, whatever you're doing is all set on autopilot so that you're free to spend time with your kids. And then if you want to spend time with them, you can. If you want to work on your business, you can dive in a little bit as well while they do a bit of, self-play. But you've got the time then you've got that freedom and that flexibility. So that is one of my other big strategies, as well as Trello, is the term time roadmap. It's so powerful.
I love that. I have never thought of it. I kind of do that just because I have teacher brain. So I'm like, in the summer, I want to work my business, but I don't want to do it the full power that is like during the school year. So that is one of the things that has also always kind of felt clunky to me, is doing the quarters. And I'm like, well, June, July, August, like June, July, I'm traveling or I'm doing whatever. And so then like getting back into my business. So I might modify that a little bit for me and give that a try, because I really like that, but because that's basically kind of what I'm doing with my business anyway, right? So it's like, make the system work for you, which I love. I feel like that's kind of been a theme of, us talking today, is take what works for you and tweak it. And you don't have to be doing the things that everyone else is doing or the strategies they're doing. Make it your own. And I love that you did that with that. That makes so much sense. Super logical.
Yeah,
but what do you use for emails and other automation systems? Do you have any special, or not special, but your favorite tools for those things that you would recommend?
Yeah, sure. So for my emails, I use Flodesk. I absolutely love that. I switched about 3 years from ConvertKit over to Flodesk. And the main reason for me for that was there wasn't the cap of how many subscribers you have and then it constantly going up. Because I was just getting to the cusp of like the 5,000 subscribers on ConvertKit, and I knew that it was going to hike. So I was like, I don't want to pay that. So Flodesk had only just come out by that point. So I jumped on the first one where they were doing the beta version and get locked in. But the fact that it doesn't have that cap, so it doesn't matter how many subscribers you've got, but you can do that. And if you can have multiple emails as well, so you can come from different domains if you've got extra websites. So I love that with Flodesk. And I also love as well that it has the checkout option on there as well. So I like that. It means that I can sell some of my digital products on Flodesk. I also use Thrivecart. But knowing that I can do that, it kind of removes the link, having to have things like Zapier and stuff to connect, so that if somebody purchases something through my checkouts on Flodesk, they're automatically tagged and added to my email list and everything. And then I have my workflows for welcome sequences and anybody coming in from a bundle or a summit. Then once they're signed up with me through Flodesk, then that kicks in the workflows on there. So I think definitely having those workflows and automations really, really helps. And I love Thrivecart as well. So I kind of flip between Thrivecart and Flodesk. The only downside for me with Thrivecart at the moment is that whilst it integrates with others like ConvertKit and everything else, it doesn't integrate with Flodesk yet. So I'm having to use Zapier for that, which is a bit of a pain. So I'm hoping at some point, they've done a lot of updates yet recently with Flodesk. So I'm hoping one of the updates they're going to do soon is we'll integrate and get Thrivecart and that to talk to each other. But having those automations in place, it makes it so much easier. And I love with my term time roadmap, when each new term, I will start and look at what the number of emails are that I want to send out each week between when I start and the half term break. I'll make that one of my goals for like the first week that I'm back at work, and then get them scheduled into Flodesk, and then I can set and forget them, and I know that it's all done then as well. What other automations and tools? Oh, so I love with my podcast, I'll use Zoom to record my podcast, but then I use Cast Magic, which you can upload the file to, the audio file, and then it pulls out all of the transcript. It creates skeletons for emails and social media posts, and I always tweak those because AI is fine to a point, but we still need our voice in there. So I'll use the backbones of that and then just tweak it to make it mine. But it saves so much time when it then comes to publishing the blog post of the podcast episode onto my site. I can take that transcript, and because it is the transcript, it's already 90% in my own words. Okay, I need to tweak it a bit and shorten it because it's very long, and I don't want like a 5,000 blog post just because I've been rattling off for 40 minutes. So I'll take it and cut it down, but it just takes away some of the work, and just do what makes life easier for you as well. And sometimes we think about outsourcing as being having a VA and stuff and making life easier that way, but there's so many other things that we can do in our business to automate and outsource, of having stock photos, of having Canva templates that somebody else has already created for you. If that's not your thing, go and buy a bunch of templates and then just make them your own, and get what you can automated so that it makes life easier. And plan your weeks and map out your weeks and months in advance by asking yourself, what social post do I want to create this month, what emails do I want to send. Make that first week of your month or of your term time, whatever strategy you're using, to get that stuff done. Get it scheduled, and then you can forget about it, and then you're free to focus on your goals or whatever you're working on your business without that pecking away at you of like, oh, I haven't written my email yet and it's Friday, and all of that stuff. So just think about what you can do in advance, or what things you can bring in of templates and things that you can use that will make your life easier. I'm all about Libra and simplicity, balance. I'm all about like, what can I do to make my life easier, and just bring it in and don't be afraid of using it.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. And it's so interesting too, because every time I ask that question or I'm talking to people, everyone always has like one different site that maybe I haven't heard of yet or I haven't used. And I'm like, ooh, I'm going to go play it. Like, I've heard of Cast Magic, and it sounds pretty similar to what I'm doing in Descript, but I'm like, now I want to go check that out. And maybe like that'll be, and not spend too much time doing it. That's like my little asterisk there. Like, I don't want to spend too much time doing that all the time and, jumping. But like you said, there are so many awesome tools out there. It's 2024. Like, when we're recording this, there are so many things out there with technology. Like, we can use the excuse of, I don't have time or I don't know how to do something, or we can actually try to use some of these tools for us and help alleviate some of that, which I think is so great.
Yeah, definitely. It's so powerful to be able to do that, and just giving ourselves that permission of like, what works for me, and take it and leave the rest. And that's one of the things that I go through my clients all the time, particularly when we're looking at doing things our way in our business and putting things to the unapologetic test as one of the strategies that I always share with them, of taking, and I think it's a Bruce Lee quote, but I'm going to quote it badly, but it is, take what you want and ditch the rest. Mm-hmm. And I love that, because with it, it's like, even going back to our magic 7 of the people that we listen to and follow and trust, that everything that they're doing, it may be working for them, but it might not totally work for us, because we've got different audiences, we've got different messages, we've got different values, we're doing something different in our businesses. But if we look at that and say, okay, how can I make this work for me? How will this fit in with my business? Does this fit with my bigger vision? And what part of it can I make advantage of? And if there's elements to it that don't fit or don't feel right, or think, no, I don't like that, don't use it. Just take what you want and leave the rest. And it's really, really powerful, because it just helps ditch that noise and tune in on what works best for you. And just by putting it to that, I love the unapologetic test. I use it all the time myself, but asking yourself what feels right and sits right is, and then just taking what you want and leaving the rest. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I think that is a really great place to pause for today. And I say pause because I'm sure I will have you on again, Sarah, because there is so much we can dive into and chat about.
Oh, absolutely.
And this has been so good. I know everyone's going to want to save this and re-listen to it, especially for those days where you feel the doubt creeping in and you just need someone in your ear helping you be unapologetic. So before we dive into how people can find you, I have a couple questions I love to ask my guests, and no particular order. So one is, what is your favorite personal development book that you have read? It can be recently too. It doesn't have to be like favorite of all time, because everyone's like, I can't pick one. But do you have a favorite personal development book or business book that you like to recommend?
Yeah, I think she's on my bookshelf, isn't it? What's her name? Is it Jen Sincero? Her Badass series. That series is so good. You're a Badass. Make Money Like Badass. I should know all the titles. There's like 4 or 5 of them. Yeah, I've read all of those and I love them. But that first one, really, I've got so many post-it notes and like highlighters through it, because there's so many great golden nuggets in there of getting back into and allowing yourself to let go of your inner critic and showing up and putting yourself out there. So like at the beginning when we were talking about that fear of visibility and actually doing the things that we want to do, if you struggle with that, go read that book if you haven't yet, because I think that is just, I go back to that one all the time, and when I'm having a tough time I will go back and pick up that book again, and I love it. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Okay, I need to find mine, because you are like the second or third person to say that in a row on guest interviews.
Oh, wow, really?
It's been a long time since I've read. I read it really early in my entrepreneurial journey, so I don't know, 7 or 8 years, I feel like. So I definitely feel like I need to go back, because sometimes I'll see quotes from that book, on social, or I feel like I even saw like little cards or something that were almost like affirmation cards that came from the book, which were really
Oh,
cool.
wow.
And I'm like, oh, so many good nuggets, like you said. So yeah, I need to go back and find that again. Do you have a morning routine, an evening routine, neither, both? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, sure. I have both. I don't always do them, depending on whether I actually want to get out from my duvet, because I am not a morning person. I've spent years trying to be. I would love to be. I'd like to think I am, but I'm so not. Especially when it gets to this time of year for us here in the UK, and like autumn's creeping in, and I just want to snuggle under my duvet. But and I've learned that I am more of a night owl than a morning person, even though I want to be, but anyway, but yeah, so my morning person, yeah, exactly. It's so hard. I would love to be up super, super early and be one of these people that are up at 5 a.m. doing all the things. But no, I'm usually up around 6:30. But I love that. For me, one of my favourite parts of my day is that first few minutes where everybody else is still in bed and I get to enjoy my coffee hot, and it hasn't gone in the microwave 3 times, or even I've gone and put it in there and then I open the microwave at lunchtime and think, oh yeah, there's my coffee. Yeah. So I like that I can do that. So my morning routine, I love sitting up, and I've kind of modified a little bit, but the Miracle Morning Savers, I like doing that. So like spending those first few minutes in a bit of silence. I've got a few of my favourite affirmations that I like to go through, and doing some visualisation of what my day is going to be, because I found it really powerful when I spend just 10 minutes or even 5 minutes just laying there thinking, or just sitting there on my little meditation cushion that I've got, and just visualising my perfect day of how today is going to be perfect, how I want everything to go, and visualising what I'm going to be doing at work in my office, what I'm going to be doing and how we're going to be spending time in the evenings with my husband and dinner and all of that sort of stuff. And when I visualise through and go through all of that, I find I have such a better day, because I think we're kind of putting that intention of what we want from our day, and we're putting out there how we want our day to go. And then when I come to working things in my office and I'm working on my projects, I think I find it easier to get them done because I've thought about it in the morning. My brain thinks I've done it already, so it's so much easier. So I love that visualization exercise. I do that most mornings. And then I love doing a bit of journaling, and then just spending 10 minutes, 20 minutes reading. And if I'm feeling energetic, I'll go for a walk once I've done the school run, listening to my favourite podcast. And then I like to just started doing it like little dumbbell weights as well. So if I've got a module on a course that I'm working through or something like that, or a training program that I've seen that I want to watch, then I'll sit and listen to that with my headphones on while I'm doing my weights. And yeah, that's kind of my morning routine. And then evening wise, I love having the decks all cleared once dinner's done and everything, so that I can come down in the morning, because if my house is a mess, I'm not going to get any work done. I just want to go and clean house. So I like to make sure that the decks are cleared in the evening, and then I try to unplug about 45 minutes before going to bed, so that I've got no white noise distraction going on, and I'll sit and read with my book. Usually read with my book in bed. And then I like going to sleep as I lay down, and I put on my I always go to sleep with sleep meditation, because I suffer with terrible insomnia, so that always helps me to go to sleep. And I love using the Calm app, their daily meditations, and they've got sleep stories. So it's slightly frustrating because I never get to the end of them because I'm asleep. So it works, and I love them. But sometimes I just think, if I could just stay awake just to listen to the end of it. So all of these sleep stories that I've listened to, I've got no idea how they end, but they're really, really good, and they really help. But then I like to just sit and think about what they're like, the 3 things. I always, as I like close my eyes and start listening to it, I just run through my mind 3 things that went well today, 3 things that I'm grateful for, and that just puts you in a really good, clear frame of mind for the following day. And then the one thing I forgot to mention that I start before I close down my office for the day is the part of my evening routine, is I wrap up where I'm at, so that I can jot down what I want to do the following day, what I want to work on, anything I need to remember, so that I'm then not going to bed thinking and then making those mental month lists that we make in our head when we go to bed. So I like to get that out of my head and onto paper, and I find that easier, because otherwise that then stops me from going to sleep, because then my mind starts churning. So yeah, but I think my favourite part is that I love the unplugging bit before going to bed, and sometimes I'll light a candle, put a bit of music on, but generally it's just reading in bed, that those few things that I'm grateful for, and then my sleep meditation.
Yeah, I love that. Mine is very similar in the evenings. I found I can't read business books though. It has to
Oh
be
no.
some kind of fiction or pleasure book or whatever. I used to try to get in business book time before I went to bed, and then my brain was just like up all night, or I couldn't remember it the next day. You know what I mean? I couldn't remember like the good nugget that I wanted to remember, and I was like, okay, this is a bad time for me to do this.
Yeah, I used to do totally the same. I've had to switch to fiction because I was doing that and I was having to get up and go downstairs and get a highlighter or go and get a post-it note or put a note on my phone. And it's like, why am I thinking and reading about business books and strategy books and personal development books before I'm trying to go to sleep? It was, yeah. So yeah, totally the same.
I love it. I love it. Okay, last question I like to ask is what is your favorite travel destination or some places on your bucket list that you really want to go to?
Oh, I love that question. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's so many. Oh,
I love to hear what people say.
I used to be somebody that was quite happy where I am and didn't really have a travel bug, but probably the last 4 or 5 years, I was just like, I think probably since my journey through my breast cancer and realising that there's more out there, and I was just not really, I was leading my own still alive, that I've got a real travel bug now. So I've got so many destinations that I want to go to. But my husband and I are huge fans of like Machu Picchu and all of that area and Nazca Lines and stuff. So we would love to, that's probably top of my list, is to go and do that and actually fly over the Nazca Lines and see those from the air, go and check out Machu Picchu, all of that kind of stuff. We absolutely love all of that. So that's top of the list. Washington State Park. A lot of it is US and Canada, but that's probably because I'm UK. But yeah, Jasper National Park, all of those places. We would love to go and explore all of those. My youngest, Harrison's 13, he is totally obsessed with Japan. I have no idea where he's got it from, but he learns Japanese and Duolingo. He's totally obsessed with it. And my husband, in one of his previous businesses, his jobs, he used to work for a US firm but would travel to Japan and China a lot. So I don't know whether it's partly come from that Harrison's got the curiosity, but he's totally obsessed with everything Japanese, loves all the Japanese food. So his bucket list is to go to Japan at some point. So it would be great to help him fulfill that and do that with him too.
That one's on mine too. And I also very selfishly want to go to like Tokyo Disney because they're supposed to be like the best Disney parks. So add that to your list when you go to Japan. Make sure you go to that when you go to Tokyo. But yeah, I've heard Japan is really, really nice from every single person that I've known who has gone there or lived there because there's a pretty big American military base there. So some of my friends in the military, lives there. And yeah, everyone just speaks like very highly. I actually was looking at, I'm like, I'm just going to see what the weather is and what flights were like to go over like Christmas break. But I'm like, I feel like it's a very unconventional Christmas break activity. And it gets kind of chilly there from what I have seen. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll wait because I don't really love the cold weather. But yeah, that one's on my list as well. But okay, super fun. So Sarah, tell us, where can everyone find you? What platforms do you hang out on? What do you have going on right now? How can people work with you? All the things.
Sure, yeah, thank you. So I'm on all of the socials at the Unapologetic Mompreneur. My website is the unapologeticmompreneur.com. I'm on Instagram. I've got a 9-grid feed. I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram. So I've got the 9-grid feed on there, but I do love hanging out in the DMs and connecting with everybody. So if you want to come and send me a DM and say hi, please do so. I've got ways of working with me is my term time roadmap, which is the main signature program, which if you've got kids at school and you're looking to try and marry your business up with your family so it fits around the needs, then I have a power hour for that where we can devise your roadmap together. I've also got a freebie, which is the Unapologetic Mompreneur Roadmap, and that lists out all of the different steps and the roadmap to helping you go from surviving to thriving in your mompreneur journey. And then you can work with me one-on-one as well in my 12-week program, Unapologetic, and we go through the term time roadmap, the Your Biz Your Way, to help you get clear on what you want from your business and set your own rules. And then diving into my 4 pillars of love your family, love your home, love your business, and love yourself. And when you focus and nurture on all of those, that is how we go from surviving to thriving. So I have that as a one-on-one program at the moment, and later on this year it'll be launched as a self-study program as well. So yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. So lots of stuff coming up.
Yeah, and also my podcast as well, which I forgot. So yeah, Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast, which you were a guest on as well, and all of those you'll find on my YouTube channel. Everything is at the Unapologetic Mompreneur.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I know that everyone is going to reach out to you and share how awesome all your tips were, and I just really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate being on. Thank you.
You're welcome.